Good chat was popping YouTube. So, as I'm deciding whether or not to DNF Frugal Wizard's Guide to Surviving Medieval England, I've been reading, spooky horror short stories to get me in the mood for
Halloween. Don't come to my house or else I'll suck your dick. Blood. I'll suck your blood.
And so naturally, Edgar Allan Poe came up. I have a few collections of his short stories on my shelf, but given how I haven't actually read that much Edgar Allan Poe before, I thought I'd, give him another go. I've read Masque of the Red Death, you can check out my video on it, The Cask of Amontillado, or however the hell you pronounce it, and The Raven, but I sat down to read The Pit and the Pendulum, and I thought it was terrible. So I read the Tell-Tale Heart, which was really good, but very short, so I'm doing a sort of double feature on them.
Once upon a midnight dreary as I spit this...
So, The Pit and the Pendulum. I started off really liking this story because I thought it was going somewhere completely different to where it actually went, and when I got to the end I thought it was terrible, so here goes. So, the story opens on this dude who just got sentenced to death by the Spanish Inquisition.
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
He wakes up in this pit.
Because the clue is in the fucking name.
He remembers that he was sentenced to death, but he can't really see anything, and so he begins to worry that he's just been entombed alive, but he hasn't, and so he begins to try to figure out how big his cell is. While doing that, he almost falls down a massive pit in the middle of the room and dies. So he gets given some bread and water, which drugs him, and then he wakes up tied to this block with a big pendulum with a blade on it, so he's swinging down toward him. He can still feed himself, because one of his hands is free, and the pendulum is slowly descending to cut his heart to ribbons. So in all his genius, he smears some meat the Spanish gave him over the straps that are, holding him down, and then a bunch of rats come out the woodwork and bite through his restraints. He then gets free and the walls become hot and start closing in on him to push him into the pit. However, before it happens, the dude gets rescued by this French guy who just took out the Spanish Inquisition. So yeah, that was it. It's really not very good.
I will choke this joker with a trochee till his cheeks are teary.
When it started, I thought it was going to go somewhere else. I thought it was going to be that like the dude was dumped in a cell with a pit in the middle, and then I thought the hook was going to be that he was given food and water to stay in the cell, or he could put himself out of his misery at any time by jumping down the pit. See, that would have been, actually good, with some interesting commentary on man's will to survive, but instead we just get this weird historical bit that just kind of doesn't mean anything to me. There's not really even that much to go on here. Like, I don't really get it. Maybe I'm just too dumb or uneducated to understand what Poe's on about here, but didn't really get anything at all out of this one. But, so anyway, because of this I read The Tell-Tale Heart, which is like 3 pages long, but it's actually an amazing short story, so we'll get into that.
But y'all don't hear me, all should fear me. Up a river be better good.
So this story opens on this guy who's just committed the perfect crime, basically. This dude is an actual nutter, but keeps on trying to tell us that he's completely sane, but anyway, he really hates this old guy that lives nearby who has these bright blue eyes, so he sneaks into his house and scouts it out for a bit. Then one night comes in and smothers the guy with his own mattress. The dude's heart keeps beating, then stops, and then the guy hides the corpse under the floorboards. He caught all the blood in buckets and disposes of it, and then gets to GTFO. However, on his way out, the local police come over because some of the neighbours heard a cry from inside the house. Mr. Man spins some bullshit about how the old guy is away and it was him crying out in his sleep, and he completely dupes the police and invites them into the house for tea and biscuits or whatever it is Yanks do. To add insult to injury, he invites them into the room where the guy's body is. He sets everyone up on chairs and puts his directly over the floorboards where the old guy's corpse is. And, they just have a chit-chat about this and that, and they talk some more, and then Mr. Man begins to hear, the heart beating below him. Nobody else can hear it, but it gets louder and louder and louder. The police keep on yakking, and then Mr. Man begins to go mad, thinking that they know that the guy is under the floorboards and that they are just trying to torture him by denying the fact that they can hear the heart. Then the heartbeats get so loud, and he just confesses to the crime.
I did it. Yeah, I know you did it. Yeah, we all know you fucking did it. I'm a murderer. We all know you.
Out and out, just confesses.
Guilty.
Up a river be better, you'll never be near me, your book.
So this story was a really short and sweet little thriller piece. I could see where it was going, and, I could see where it was going from a mile away, but it was satisfying nonetheless. This is definitely my favourite Edgar Allan Poe story I've read so far. It's pretty awesome. Such a simple little theme, executed so well in a way that only a format this short could have allowed us to experience it. Such a powerful little commentary on the nature of guilt, how guilt just consumes us until all we can do is confess ourselves. Humans have this tendency to confess our crimes even when people don't have the slightest clue of what we've done, whether it be for guilt or pride. It shows that even the most criminally insane will feel some kind of guilt for their evil actions. So yeah, that was the 2 Edgar Allan Poe stories I read this morning. These are probably available free online somewhere, so if you want to check them out, I'd recommend it. Great little bits of horror stories to, get into the Halloween mood. And if you want to check out an absolutely fucked up horror story, check out my new short story, Mal the Graveyard Man. It's on my website, and I will warn you, it's very messed up. If you like Stephen King and Clive Barker when they get really deranged, this might be up your alley. But if violence, murder, and a lot worse than that upsets you, check out my novella, Seraph of Kitch instead.